Good day to all of you. I am Mrs. Sunitra Pathak and I am going to teach you English. Here I will start with the first chapter of your textbook Beehive. The name of the chapter is The Fun They Had. It is written by the author Sir Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov, the name itself suggests that he is originally not an American. He is originally a Russian, born in Russia, but in due course of his education and service or profession, he finally settled in Boston, America, United States of America. He was the professor of biochemistry in Boston University. And besides that, he was a prolific writer of many science fictions. His imagination was much into the future, as we see in this story, The Fun They Had. He was born in 1920 and he died in 1992 at the age of 72 years. So here, when he writes this story, The Fun They Had, it shows a time period which is about 100 to 150 years ahead from the time when he was writing. So we can say 100 to 120 years ahead from when we are surviving today. In history, we read about what is already happened in the past. And in science fictions, mostly we read about what is going to happen in the future. Imagination. We are not certain that on 3rd February 2021 such and such a thing is going to happen. No, we cannot. In history we can specify dates. But in science fictions we cannot specify dates, as it is an imagination and not a reality. So similarly here Isaac Asimov, on account of the scientific development that was already taking place, he has written the science fiction imagining how the world will be in future. So here in this story there are two characters who are two small children, Margie and Tommy. So then Margie is a small girl and her friend who is Tommy is her friend who is just a few years elder to her. So they study in virtual classes. The entire lesson is in flashback. A combination of flashback and present. Present means not today's present. Today is a past for those characters. For them, present is the 2021 era, as it is a science fiction. So there, the boy has found a paper book. Paper book means or a real book. To a paper book they call as a real book. A paper book is known as a real book because the book that we read on a mobile or a laptop, they are known as virtual books. As they are not concrete, we can't hold them in our hand. They are there embedded in the screen. So they are known as virtual books. So he has found a virtual book, a real paper book, and he is reading that. So Margie has never seen such a kind of a thing. She is curious. She comes and asks, "What is this? What are you having in your hand?" He tells, "Oh, this is a real book. I have found it. It belongs to my great-great-grandfather. It was there in the attic. I took it out." She tries to peep in. She tries to turn the pages and again turn back. When she turns back, she realizes, oh God, the letters, the words, the alphabets, they are there where they were before. They did not change. So this was something very surprising for her, because she was in the habit of reading a virtual book where the scrolling up and down goes on. So there is one screen and thousands and lakhs of pages. But in a paper book, each page is just only one page. So this was something big surprise for us. Like honestly, I'll tell you, for me it was the other way. When for the first time I saw a virtual book in the early, like 20, after the 21st century started, when I saw the first virtual book, or when I saw for the first time the computer screen in early 1990s, and we press a button and everything goes up and down. It was so amusing. I was young and I was again and again scrolling up and down, up and down. Oh, it was a great fun. So same way, just like a virtual book was fun and amazing for me, same way for Margie, a real book is very amusing. And she feels, oh, I don't like it, it's boring. She feels that way. The alphabets don't move. They stay at the same place. When you turn page and you come back, you find the alphabet is there only, it has not gone anywhere. So it was very boring for her. For us, that's normal because she is 100 years ahead of us. Very accustomed to virtual school. Now, that was a book which narrated about a school. Now, what is a school? That was again amazing and curious thing for her. Because for them, in the 22nd century, a school means what? A room inside their house where there is a robotic teacher and the accessories of the robotic teacher, where the lessons are flashed, the homeworks are typed, a slot into which the homework goes. So here the school is described. So he explains to Margie with a lot of enthusiasm. Children used to go to school. So she asks, children used to go to school, what is that? So then after he explains, she gets the concept to the kind of school that we have today. So where children of the same age group come, sit together, study, play, eat, have fun. Now Margie is not familiar to this kind of lifestyle. So she finds it very amusing. And that same thing goes on recurring and recurring and recurring in her mind even after her friend has gone away. As it is, although they study at home, but they have fixed time, because as according to what Margie says, that Margie's mother feels when girls and boys study at the fixed time, they learn better. Like for us, we are not allowed to enter the school if we are late. For them, it's not like that. But they, to maintain discipline, they study. So it is time to study, so they have gone back. Margie has entered her school, which is a room beside her bedroom with the robotic teacher and his accessories. And still in her thoughts is the paper book and the school mentioned in the paper book, because she has found it amusing. But somewhere deep down her heart, now she starts feeling, which is actually mentioned in the end of your lesson, she starts feeling, oh, the fun they had. They means we, you, the modern children who are past for them. So she thinks in the 22nd century, oh, the fun they had in the 21st century. How all the children sat together. Here I am sitting alone, so boring. So there she starts like finding the distinguishing points between a real school and a virtual school. So in a virtual school, a child has to sit alone, first thing. Second thing, when Margie starts describing a school, through her description we come to know that the robotic teacher does not see to it whether the student has understood the lesson or not. The robotic teacher only does its duty of teaching. It goes on teaching, goes on teaching, goes on teaching. Lesson over, it shows the test paper. Come on, write the test. It won't ask whether you understood the lesson or not. It will simply put a test, whether you get 0 or you get out of marks. You write your test, put it into the slot, the robotic teacher will assess your test and give it out. That's all. And if you get less marks, the robotic teacher doesn't bother. Like a human teacher for you, after teaching the lesson, will ask you, did you understand, child? You express your doubts. The teacher will again clear your doubt. Still, if you get less marks, the teacher will ask you, what happened? Why did you get less marks? What was your problem? How can I help you? And whatever you will tell your queries, the teacher will again clear that, will take a retest, and all sort of things happen. But that does not happen with a robotic teacher. So that is a major problem. Then a teacher need not be programmed for the speed. When a teacher is standing in a class in the modern world, the teacher knows that I am standing in front of this particular age group and this is what my speed should be so that my children do not get bored and understand also. Depending on the age group, we vary our words, we vary our speed, but a robotic teacher won't do that. Whatever it is programmed for, it will do. So once it so happened with Margie that the geography chapters, they got programmed too fast. And the robotic teacher taught so fast that Margie did not understand anything. And she obviously failed. Her mother was worried. Called in the, now you may wonder, the robotic teacher, how does it land into the house? Come on, let's come to that story first. So like nowadays when a child is born in a family and 3 to 4 years of age, the parents take the child and go to a real school, fill the admission form and the child starts sitting in the school. When it comes to robotic schooling, that time it does not happen like this. Once the child is born, the parents will fill online form and there is no teacher but there is school inspector. The school inspector will come to the house and install all the accessories and the robotic teacher will program the robotic teacher according to the age of the child and go. So every day the mother will switch on and teach the child. After a certain age, the child has to go himself, switch on and start studying. So, but we cannot control the robotic teacher. So, the robotic teacher taught the geography lesson so fast that Margie did not understand anything and she failed in her exams. So, then the mother called the school inspector and then Margie was very happy. Just like you all, you feel very happy when it is declared, tomorrow is a holiday. Or suddenly you go to school and due to some reason in the morning assembly, the principal announces, students, today you don't have to sit till 2 o'clock, it's just a half day, you can go home at 11 o'clock. Yay, you all shout, isn't it? So same is with them also. Children are after all children. The method of teaching has changed, but children are same in nature. So Margie feels very excited. Oh, the school inspector has come and now he is going to take away the robotic teacher for reprogramming. Because that's what she had seen that had happened with her friend. When the programming had gone wrong, that time the robotic teacher had been taken away for a long period of time. So she expects the robotic teacher will be taken away this time also. But it doesn't happen so. The school inspector simply slows down the speed of the program and tells that she is an excellent child. She is doing very well. It was programmed a bit too fast. So she was having a problem and I have controlled the speed now. So this was like a moment for Margie. She expected that, as it happens with you, as I told you, expect a full day school and get a half day. But here it was opposite. She goes to school expecting a half day and gets a full day. Like suppose for you, you think, oh, today is a half day. We are just going to come back home at 11 o'clock. But in the morning assembly principal announces, your half day is cancelled. You have a full day school today. How you say, oh. So for Margie it became like that. Oh, the inspector did not take away the robotic teacher. He just reprogrammed and left it there. That means no holiday for Margie. So these all things are narrated. From this we can do a very good comparative study of what we say virtual classroom, virtual books, real classroom, real books. Everything has got its own advantage and disadvantage. See students, the advantage of, I would say in my words, the advantage of a robotic teacher is as many times you listen to it, the robotic teacher will repeat it in the same words. Not a difference of a punctuation. But a human teacher cannot do that. The human teacher will explain the same concept in different words. So that is a major difference, which is a disadvantage. But the advantage is, as I told you before, the human teacher will understand the student. Robotic teacher will not understand. Third major difference again goes in support of the real school. That is, in a real school, children of the same age get to sit together, socialize with each other, meet each other, not just study, play each other, help each other, interact with each other, share knowledge about each other's culture. So a lot of sharing is done. Whereas in case of virtual school, you will not have that. So with this, the summarization of the lesson is over, and now we can go with the reading and proper explanation of the chapter on the whole. So here we will start with it. The fun they had. Margie even, so here even diary writing is mentioned. Margie even wrote it that night in her diary on the page headed May 17th, 2155. So what is the year? 2155. She wrote, "Today Tommy found a real book. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather," so almost we reach to the level of great-grandfather, "told him there was a time all stories were printed on paper." So now they have reached a time where virtual books are there. They turned the pages which were yellow and crinky. Who turned the pages? Here in this particular sentence, they refers to Margie and Tommy. Margie and Tommy turned the pages of the book which were yellow and crinky. Crinky means brittle, almost on the verge of breaking, as it was a very old book. And it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen. That means here they are comparing between a real book and a virtual book. And then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste. When you are through with the book, you just throw it away. I guess," he tells her, "what's the use?" Whereas in a virtual book, you delete the old book and you save a new book. You download a new book. But a paper book, you can't do that. You have to throw away the entire book. "Our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it, and it's good for plenty more." So he feels a paper book is a total waste. "I wouldn't throw it away." So he is talking about the screen. He tells, "I won't throw away the screen because there are millions of books on it." Margie tells them, "Same with mine," said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen as many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. She said, "Where did you find it?" "In my house." He pointed without looking because he was busy reading. "In the attic." "What's it about?" Tommy replies, "School." Margie was scornful. What the hell? What's there to write about a school? Because for her, what is a school? A room where there is a robotic teacher. School? What's there to write about school? I hate school. Margie always hated school. But now she hated it more than ever. The mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. The school inspector is known as the county inspector. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools and dials and wires. Just like we have wiremen coming to our house, the county inspector is like that. Because what does he do? He programs the mechanical teacher. He smiled at her and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Whom? The mechanical teacher he took apart. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again. She was praying, oh God, he should not be able to assemble the mechanical teacher again so that he will take it away. But he knew how, all right, and after an hour or so, there it was again, large and black and ugly, with a big screen on which all the lessons were shown and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part she hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. She always had to write them out in a punch code, not the way you all write in using your alphabets ABCD. They had to write in codes. They made her to learn when she was 6 years old. And the mechanical teacher calculated the mark in no time. Not like your human teacher who will let you relax for a week or 10 days and then you get your marks. Enjoy till then. But here, in minutes they will give it. The inspector had smiled after he was finished and patted her head. He said to her, Mother, it's not the little girl's fault. Mrs. Jones is Margie's mother. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick, means it ran too fast. Those things happen sometimes. I have slowed it up to an average 10-year-old level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory. And he patted Margie's head again with affection. But Margie was all upset. Why did he reprogram it? I didn't get a holiday. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. They had once taken away Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because the history sector had blanked out completely. Now here again comes the advantage of the human teacher. A human teacher never blanks out. Once they learn, they remember it. So she said to Tommy, why would anyone write about school? What a big deal. Tommy looked at her with very superior eyes. He was showing off because he was elder. Because it's not our kind of school, stupid. This is the old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago. He added loftily, pronouncing the word carefully, centuries ago, which showed that very old. Margie was hurt because he had showed her down. Well, I don't know what kind of school they had all that time ago. She read the book over his shoulder for a while, then said, anyway, they had a teacher. We too have a teacher, they too had a teacher. Oh, let it be. All teachers are boring, according to Margie. Not really, okay? Teachers are nice people. Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man. So students, for you, regular teacher is a human. And you don't even think about a virtual teacher. Maybe sometimes nowadays you might be observing some of the animated YouTubes of your lessons. So that is a virtual teacher for you, which is altogether different here. So for them, the virtual teacher is a real teacher or a regular teacher. And a man acting as a teacher is not something regular for them. A man. How could a man be a teacher? This is Margie's response. Well, he just told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions. A man isn't smart enough. Just imagine how the thoughts of these children have changed. They consider a man to be unsmart. They feel that the virtual teacher is a very smart teacher. Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. A man can't know as much as a teacher. So for them a teacher is a mechanical teacher who has millions of books like your encyclopedias and everything fed into it. That is the definition of teacher for Margie. So she feels one human being cannot know everything. So how can a human being be a teacher? Just like you have different teachers for every subject. Because one single human being cannot know everything. But when it is a mechanical teacher, one teacher will teach everything. So Margie feels a regular teacher is a mechanical teacher and a human teacher cannot be smart enough. A man can't know as much as a teacher. He knows almost as much, I betcha. Betcha, this word is a local form of saying I bet on. That means like giving an assurance. Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that. She said, I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me. She feels, why should I allow a stranger enter my house? Because she does not know the concept of the school where students go. She thinks that school is at home. Tommy screamed with laughter. You don't know much, Margie. The teacher didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there and all the kids learned the same thing. Sure, if they were the same age. That is what we do today, isn't it? All your classmates are more or less a few months here and there of your same age. But my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl. It teaches and each kid has to be taught differently. But in a class where all the kids are sitting together and one teacher is teaching, how can the teacher be fitted according to one student? This was the query of Margie. Just the same, they didn't do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book. So here again Tommy shows up. Don't read it if you don't like it. I didn't say I didn't like it, Margie said quickly, because she was curious. She wanted the book. She wanted to read about those funny schools. They weren't even half finished when Margie's mother called, Margie, school! Margie looked up. Not yet, Mama. Now, said Mrs. June. And it's probably time for Tommy too. Margie said to Tommy, can I read the book some more with you after school? Maybe, he said nonchalantly, because he was now showing off. He was the owner of the book. He understood and knew more than Margie. He walked away whistling the dusty old book tucked beneath his arm. Margie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom and the mechanical teacher was on and waiting for her. Her mother had already put on the mechanical teacher. It was always on at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday. So she had 5 days of schooling, Monday to Friday. Because her mother said, little girls learn better if they learned at regular hours. The screen was lit up and it said, today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fractions. Please insert yesterday's homework in the proper slot. Margie did so with a sigh, with a sadness. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came laughing, shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. They learned the same things so they could help one another on the homework and talk about it. Here Margie starts feeling that real schools are better than virtual schools. And the teachers were people. The mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add the fractions 1 upon 2 and 1 upon 4, and the mechanical teacher was going on, because the mechanical teacher will not see whether Margie has the concentration or doesn't have. Whatever the mechanical teacher will do is whatever is put on, he will go on. Does a real teacher do that? If you are not attentive in the class, what will the real teacher do? The real teacher will say, where's your attention? Pay attention. You will not understand your lesson. But a mechanical teacher will not do that. Margie was thinking about how the kids must have loved it in the old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. So that's where the lesson gets the name, the fun they had. So my dear students, I hope the lesson is clear to you. Here, when I used to teach till last year this particular lesson, I always told the students, imagine a virtual classroom. But my dear students, this year, although you may not be facing a mechanical teacher, but you are experiencing virtual classroom. So, I think you should be able to understand this chapter better than the students understood last year, as they had no concept of what is a virtual classroom. Whereas this year students, you are having an experience of virtual classroom. So my homework at the end of this chapter for you is write an article in about 120 to 150 words where you will be sharing your experiences about the differences between or your experience about a virtual classroom and a real classroom. So if you are writing an article, you will be just writing the differences between a virtual classroom and a real classroom. Another homework which you can do, you have an option, there are two options. Write an informal letter to your grandfather about your experiences of a real classroom and a virtual classroom. And by writing this to me, you don't have to submit it hand to hand, as it is not a real classroom. Instead, what you will do is, you will write it, take a photo and send it to sir through your WhatsApp, and I will get it and I will see what have you written. So virtual classroom did not leave Margie for doing homework, nor can you escape homework in a virtual classroom. You too have to do your homework and you have to send it virtually to us. We will check it and give you the remarks. Thank you.